We begin in the Middle East, where days of calm have been shattered. Breaking overnight, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes on Iranian-backed groups in Iraq. The U.S. Central Command says it was in response to more than 30 attempted drone attacks on U.S. forces and Saudi energy sites over the last few days. The U.S. military also says it thwarted an attempted surprise attack on U.S. troops yesterday. Central Command says Iran's Revolutionary Guard launched multiple ballistic missiles at forces in the Middle East, but they were, quote, successfully intercepted. Aaron MacLean joins us now. He's a CBS News security analyst and host of the School of War podcast. Aaron, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So let's break this down. What does this reported surprise attack tell us about Iran's military capabilities?
Well, they still have the capability to shoot ballistic missiles and drones at American forces in the region and our partners. And look, they are trying to keep the pressure up. They want political pressure on the Trump administration here in the United States. They want pressure on energy markets. And they clearly calculate that either the president won't retaliate with the kind of massive escalation he repeatedly talks about but hasn't followed through on, or they assess that they'll survive whatever that retaliation will be. They want the United States to leave the region, and this is their way of keeping the pressure up.
Now, Aaron, with the Saudis joining the U.S. in the fighting, does that complicate efforts to keep this war from spreading throughout the region?
Well, so this is an interesting subplot of the last few days, and I think separate from the question of the Iranian ballistic missile strike overnight. So the Saudis have been getting hit in recent days by Iranian-backed proxies out of Iraq. Those proxies have been shooting drones at energy targets in Saudi. By the way, the Houthis out of Yemen have been doing the same thing. So these strikes that you saw overnight were a Saudi-U.S. joint effort to retaliate against those proxies. We've seen events like this, other Gulf allies joining us for this or that specific operation. So no, I don't think this marks a particular kind of escalation, but it's yet more evidence that nothing here is resolved. This conflict continues at a very high simmer, low burn.
And Aaron, we've been talking about concerns that the U.S. is rapidly depleting its weapons stockpile. Did the Pentagon need Saudi Arabia's help to carry out this latest attack?
Well, the weapons stockpile issues that we're having, I don't think are holding back current operations. We have the kinds of weapons you would need to strike at those targets in Iraq. By the way, we have the higher end weapons, the standoff weapons, the cruise missiles, the ballistic missiles that we would need to continue fighting with Iran. The shortage question comes up when we're talking about other global responsibilities and the rate of burn in the Middle East starting to cause issues for our efforts to deter China, for example. And then there's the critical question of air defense and interceptors, where there do appear to be shortages that would become an issue over time in the face of relentless air attack.
All right, Aaron MacLean, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi now, live in our D.C. bureau. Olivia, good morning. President Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday. What do we know about that meeting?
Well, good morning, Michael. It's good to be with you. We know that it was a generally positive meeting between those two leaders, which is notable because leading up to it, there was some tension between President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Even before the interview, President Trump had gone on Fox News and publicly criticized the way that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu had been sharing information with the U.S., specifically about Pickaxe Mountain, where there was concern about some Iranian nuclear material or capacity being moved there as these strikes have continued to unfold in the region. Netanyahu last night did join Fox News and praised the president and their meeting. Take a listen to what he said here.
It was great. It was one of the best meetings that we've had. And I always hate to disappoint our would-be critics who are trying to find, cracks in our alliance. And what they find, like today, is a wall of granite, because the president is so clear. I mean, we have a common commitment. We don't want to see this fanatic regime in Tehran have nuclear weapons.
So lavishing praise there from Netanyahu. But the president also concurred in a post on Truth Social. He said that along with Bibi Netanyahu and other representatives, they had a very good meeting. And he said, obviously, many important subjects were discussed as part of that meeting. One thing that we are watching for is whether Israel will join the U.S. in any new strikes that will happen in the region. Of course, they have not joined since the ceasefire and then the subsequent falling apart of that ceasefire. So we'll be watching to see if that is a development that will happen in the coming days.
All right, Olivia Rinaldi in Washington. Thank you.